So Tulsi Gabbard has a tendency to make these little snapshot campaign items. They're effective. And it gets her message out to social media, unfiltered, undiluted. Just her speaking to the audience.
Prohibition on marijuana, end mass incarceration, and reform our criminal justice system.
Now, this one was on marijuana. This one came out August 16th, 2019. At least that's the date that's on the item itself. Like I said, I like those. Sanders, if you notice, have started making those too. Pretty much all the candidates make those, I would imagine, because it allows that candidate to talk directly to the social media and say, this is my perspective on this particular issue. You're not getting it from the media. You're not getting it filtered. You're getting it directly from me. I'm the person looking beautifully into the camera and giving my pitch. I need to see one of those on Kashmir. I need to see one of those on Kashmir. I am a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard, and I don't ask her this because she's getting money from Hindus in this kind of weird way that the TYT person said. I am more asking her this for other reasons. A, Tulsi Gabbard's main campaign thing is foreign policy, so there's that. She's Hindu, so I am curious about something that definitely touches home to her. I want one of those. And by the way, I have no idea what she's going to put in it. It's just, I pay attention to politics. I would love to have her for an interview. And these are the type of questions that I would love to delve into. I would love to see one of those on what is taking place in Kashmir. So let's talk about, for a brief moment, Kashmir and why I want to see one of those. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is Soapbox After Dark. I like to say when real men can't sleep, real men do the news. And so here I am at 10 something, whatever, doing the news. I have other stories that I want to do today, but this particular one I've been watching for the past week. And I've been hoping to hear something from Gabbard about this very particular story. I haven't, so I'm making this video. Guys, if you dig this content, you find yourself coming back to this particular channel often, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe. This channel is growing. We've put on several, like 100 members in a short period of time. So very cool. Let's keep it up. This content is brought to you by you. And so if you guys definitely dig this content, please consider supporting this through PayPal or Patreon. Even $1 helps. I'm sorry to have to say this every video, man, but YouTube is not a trustworthy actor. So let's talk about Kashmir. This is Khan. Not the Khan that you're aware of. This is a different Khan, not the God what Kirk is pissed off at. Even though this Khan is spitting mad. Why is this Khan spitting mad? I'm going to let Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, explain why he is pissed off himself.
सोचा हुआ कि आज़ाद कश्मीर पे कुछ हमें सबक सिखाने का आप तैयार हो जाए फिर से मैं कहता हूं कि आपकी ईंट का जवाब हम पत्थर से देंगे और आपको इंशाल्लाह आपको वक्त आ गया कि आपको एक सबक सिखाएंगे मैं समझता हूं कि ये नरेंद्र मोदी ने एक स्ट्रेटेजिक ब्लंडर कर दिया है ये उसने अपना आखिरी कार्ड खेल दिया है और मैं ये समझता हूं कि ये अब बहुत भारी पड़ेगा.
He is pissed off. He's pissed off. And an unannounced, out of the blue, actually, measure, Nirav Modi revoked Article 370. Now, Article 370 gave a certain degree of autonomy to Kashmir. Thanks, Brits. Kashmir is a contested region. It's contested by India, Pakistan, and China. Oddly enough, China has expressed concern over what has taken place. India and Pakistan are both nuclear power nations. Modi killed communications in that particular region, meaning cell phones, internet, across-the-board communications. In addition to that, dumping tens of thousands of troops in that tiny region of the globe, and not just dumping troops in, arresting pretty much activists and any particular people who will be opponents of this particular measure. It's a heavy hand. It's a heavy fist. This is on top of what's considered to be essentially crimes that take place in Kashmir in general. The communications, for the most part, have ceased coming out of Kashmir because they have been cut off to the outside world. Modi has, for all intents and purposes, created a ghetto of 7 million people with massive military presence in that particular area of the globe. All sorts of atrocities can be taking place. For the most part, communications cut off. That's a problem. That's a problem. Now, Kashmir is the only Muslim majority state in India. Meaning, even though they're contested, Pakistan, India, China controls various regions of Kashmir. In that particular region, in all of India, that's the area that is Muslim controlled. So Modi doing this and revoking the autonomy of that particular region, for the most part, eliminates any notion of Muslims having any control of any particular region in India and makes them subordinate in somewhat of a heavy-handed way to India and a Hindu majority nation, one to which they deem hostile to their interests. And if we're being honest, they're not wrong in saying that that is a hostile government to their interests. They are pissed off. They're pissed off. And that is putting it mildly. Interestingly enough, India tried to act as if everything was okay and there was no problems and that nothing was taking place that was untoward. Been no get-togethers. They're not pissed off at all. That's what the Indian government says. They're not angry. They're not rioting or at the very least gathering. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're not upset by what is taking place. I mean, that's according to the right-wing India media. These people don't look angry in the least. They're just, having a walk. That's all. At least based on what the Indian government is saying. That woman is not angry at all. They're not angry at all. What I will tell you is they are pissed off. Apoplectic is putting it too mildly. They are pissed off. The only region by which they had autonomous control has now just been usurped by a right-wing government in India, Hindu, that is hostile to what they consider to be their interests. Regardless of what Modi says about what he wants to do for economic development and all the other stuff, this is a heavy fist. And this is a usurping of control of that region. Again, a region that is in contest. Pakistan, Khan, has upped the ante saying they could use military force in this. This could lead to a war. And the previous wars have been fought over Kashmir. Not all of them, but some of the previous ones. These are two nuclear power nations. People are assuming that India and Pakistan are going to work this out without it coming to some kind of conflict. That's an assumption. I have no idea why people make that assumption. So this brings me back to my original premise, right? I know Tulsi is doing military duty right now. So don't misunderstand me. I know she's not, begging the campaign trail as hard as she was prior. I don't ask her this, again, because quote-unquote Hindus are giving a Hindu candidate cash as if that's a bizarre thing. Black people came out for Obama in spades. Most African Americans vote for Democrats. I think it's like by 90%. That number went up to over 90% when Obama was in office. Why? Because he was black. Is what it is. It would be weird if that wasn't the case. Same thing, I would imagine, when Buttigieg runs, you're going to have a large contingent of gays up the ante a bit to give him cash. I would expect that of any tribe. So, it's not weird in the least that a woman who's Hindu, which is in and of itself, something new in our particular political space, receives additional cash from people who are Hindus. Even if you want to say they are right-wing versions of it, I don't think that matters as much in as much as she is a Hindu. I'm not going to ask her the question of whether or not the money that you're getting from other Hindus is somehow tainting your particular perspective of the world to make it more in line with a foreign allegiance. I'm not asking that question at all. My question is very basic. Tulsi Gabbard is a foreign policy candidate. She's staked her entire candidacy on this notion of foreign policy. That has been her mainstay. She tells you breathlessly that she was a soldier and that she wants to get us out of these regime change wars. It comes up in anything she talks about. You can ask her about economics. She would say our domestic policy requires us to stop these regime change wars. It comes up in anything. Tell us we need to stop, what do you think about wheat? I think we need to, stop these regime change wars so we can have more money to spend on pot. It wouldn't matter what it is. That's her thing. I don't begrudge her for it. But since that's her thing, and there's this added thing of association with Modi that people hit her for. Now, to be fair, I think this association hit is not entirely fair. I mean, Obama was bending over backwards saying how awesome Modi was. And if Hillary Clinton won, Hillary Clinton would be doing the exact same thing. And all of these people love Elizabeth Warren to death. I hate to tell you this, but Elizabeth Warren won. And supposing she didn't lose to Trump, she would act the same way towards Modi and Netanyahu. So I don't necessarily think that's entirely unfair. However, the connection has been made. I don't think it's an unfair question. That's my point. Especially since the reasons for asking that question fall entirely in line with the way she has run her candidacy and her platform. Foreign policy. This is entirely foreign policy. Hindu. Fair enough. You're Hindu. I'm curious about your perspective on this, considering that it is close to home of your own identity. I can't be wrong. I can't be the only one that is curious about what Tulsi Gabbard has to say about this. And by the way, this is not a knock. This is not a negative. This is not a criticism. This is not anything. This video is literally making the point that what is taking place in Kashmir right now is atrocious. And as it's atrocious, and considering that this can be somewhat of a conflict, and both of these countries are, oddly enough, both of them are allies of the United States. She's a foreign policy person. I want to hear her perspective. That's all. There's no there to this video other than that very specific point. What is taking place in the Kashmir right now, especially cutting them off from the rest of the world. And the pissed offness that is associated with Pakistan and the resoluteness of his cause. By the way, he's taken this to the international community to try to get the international community to pressure India back down. Modi, with this particular provocation, considering he's a right-winger, doesn't lose in this process. I hope you understand what I mean. It's just like right-wingers here in the United States. That right-wing nationalistic government does not lose by creating a certain degree of crisis and provocation any more than Trump loses in creating a certain degree in provocation at the border in the United States. His element, his base, loves it. And not just loves it, would want him to go further into even taking the Pakistani version of Kashmir. So from Modi's standpoint, from his political disposition, this doesn't lose for him. It doesn't matter if it potentially starts a war. His political base likes this. I'm trying to get someone to come onto the show to talk about this competently, to give a little bit more context in some sort of a round way. I don't entirely pay attention to Indian politics. If I'm being honest with you, this is kind of one of those things that just kind of popped up. And since we have a candidate in the race that just so happens to be Hindu, this seems to be right up our alley to talk about. It's like if I had a candidate in the race that was Nigerian, that immigrated into this country, I think it would be fascinating to get his perspective on issues pertaining to Nigeria. It would just be a natural thing. I'm saying the same thing is true here. Same thing is true here. Let's see who's here. And I'm not going to keep this one long. If some random time Tulsi Gabbard gets her hand on this particular video and she's like, hey, that's a good point. Modus operandi. Supporting Hindu nationalism is Tulsi's modus operandi. Well, look, I want her to say that, though, and you don't know that. You're assuming you know what she's going to say, and I have to be honest, I have no idea what's going to come out of Tulsi's mouth, which is why I'm even more curious Like people have associated her with Modi. And they have associated her in this way of saying she's supporting right-wing nationalists in India. Okay, if that's true, then I want to hear her say it. This goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. If you look back to my old shows, yes, the video quality is not as good, but if you look back at those old shows, well, I said the same thing. It's one thing for you to say she has a position. It's another thing for her to be asked the question and to answer it when you can actually hear it. People like Sam Cedar and TYT were smearing her relentlessly. And it's like you haven't even heard what she had to say on the campaign trail yet. She just got into the race. Well, it's issues like this that come up where you get the opportunity to hear what she has to say. It's just so happens that when people in the media talk to her, it's you met with Assad, right? And the larger questions around the world that will be far more fascinating, far more interesting to the people who are watching get pushed to the wayside for the smearing. God, I would love her to come on this show. And, you know, I don't know if she's scared to come on this show. I don't know what it is at this point. I mean, look, I don't have it in my head that Tulsi is going to win. And maybe she thinks she's going to get a breakout moment. And in that breakout moment, an interview with me is somehow going to, I don't know, hurt her chances. I have no idea. She had an interview with Nico. She had an interview with Michael Tracy. She had an interview with George Harden. But somehow I am the one that's tainted. So I don't know what that's about. But if anybody that she gets an interview with, and if any random person who's interviewing her sees this particular video, if you are not asking her about Kashmir, you are not doing due diligence in your interview. Just saying. Just saying. John Pine, fix your settings. They are set to it. Some of our comments are being shadow banned, and it's only on your channel. What do you mean shadow ban? Oh, yeah, I checked, but it depends on what it is. I think the settings are set for like cursing or vulgarity or something to that effect. But I'll check it. But I don't block anyone for the most part. Brent McKinney, no interview with Tim Black either, I don't believe. Berman 23, show up at one of her town halls. She'll talk with anybody there. I shouldn't have to show up at her town halls for this. Luca Clemente, what do you know about absurdity, Garnome? Leave that to the experts. What's going on in Kashmir started long before Modi. So fair enough, Garnome, but come on. The revocation of 370. And look, I am not an expert on Kashmir, so I don't even attest to such. And I've been trying to I put out feelers to get certain people who are there and closer to it onto the channel for an interview. What they're doing is politics. And that's something different. And if Tulsi Gabbard wants to make the argument that what's been going on in Kashmir happened before Modi, fair enough. I mean, look, we're all in a continuum. There is nothing that just started the moment that we came onto existence. So yes, I'm certain, just as a flat fact, that what was going on in Kashmir happened before Modi. However, it was Modi that put through the revocation of that article and is pushing this. Just saying. You know I love you, but I think everybody's show she appeared on have more subs. Burma 23. Yeah, I mean, Nico's show didn't have that many more. I mean, Nico may have like 5,000 more than me. That's not a huge number. And I gotta be honest, if her, yeah, maybe you could be right. I mean, I talked to somebody on her campaign, and they gave me the runaround and then stopped responding. So I suppose she likes people just asking her about Assad. I suppose it's that. Just keep asking me about Assad. Modi, Toady, squished in the roadie. Aren't your videos just straight up documentaries? Okay, these guys are talking about Garden's video. Modi never gave a dime to Tulsi, to my knowledge. Yeah, and they hit her with that constantly. Oh, she gets money from the BJP. You mean Hindus? You're just talking about Hindus. You're just talking about people who are either, you're just talking about Hindus. You know, some of them may be right wings, but nobody ever says that about Jews. And I keep making that point. Like, you have a lot of Jews that would support what's taking place in Israel. And they give a lot of money to political candidates. And nobody says, hey, They've been killing a lot of Palestinians in that colony, that apartheid state that you call Israel. And you've been taking money from a lot of Jews. Should you say something about... Nobody ever says that. Nobody ever. That's never happened. That's never been said. Not one day. Not one day. Not one day. It's Alex. I love getting Jamal to read my gibberish. Well, I go through the chat. I like to, when I get opportunity. All right. Amy Klobuchar must be asking about what? What does that say? Amy Klobuchar. Damn it, I can't find it. Amy Klobuchar must be asking about something. That's funny. I would be shocked if Amy Klobuchar is on the debate stage the next time around. It appears on the new comments, not in Tom comments. I see. All right. I'm going to end this. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all. I'll see you momentarily. Bye-bye.